The top 20? Are we in the top 20? Are we at 20? Oh, this is just... This is when people just get mad now. People are waiting for the big name movies, and I have Truman Show at number 20.
I love that movie.
Truman Show is fascinating, and it's one of those things that I remember when I was a kid thinking how much greater it would be if life wasn't real and I was just on a TV show and all this crap I was going through was just for drama. And so when I watched Truman Show, I was like, yeah, that's about right. The difference is that Truman, it really wanted out, and I think I would have been fine. I'm like, all right, I don't need to go to Fiji. There's some fun in this movie, but again, it shows that when Jim Carrey is directed well in a serious movie, it works. Sorry to the number 23, but it didn't work in that one. Truman Show has a lot of heart. It's fun, and the weird part is that the actress that played his wife, I generally didn't like her in any other movie she was with after this movie, just because she just comes across as so evil and so selfish and yet she's an actress playing a part. Like, you shouldn't really be mad at her all the time because she's just doing what she gets paid to do, and of course, since the Truman Show is the most popular in the world, she'd be getting paid pretty well. It's a fascinating tale, and it's got some unpredictable elements to it. And when he starts losing his mind and he starts going a little bit Jim Carrey, it doesn't lose its momentum, and it doesn't become silly. It still maintains its heart. So greatly love that movie. Number 19. I'm not writing the whole title. Number 19 is the first Captain America movie, Captain America, the First Avenger. As movies go, as superhero movies go, this, let me just take a quick look here. Yep, it's the highest rating one. None of them are higher than this. It is a fantastic way of starting the whole thing, even though Iron Man technically started it. But really, once Captain America, the First Avenger, was out there, we knew the Avengers was coming. We knew for sure the Avengers was coming. You can't have Avenger in the title and not do the other not have Avenger movies that follow. Captain America, the First Avenger, is so well done. It may receive a few extra points from me for Haley Atwell. I may or may not have had a crush on her when I watched the movie. It's possible. But she's a very good actress. Uh-huh. She has a delightful personality. And Chris Evans is awesome in this movie as Captain America as well. He pulls it off. And it's funny because coming out of Fantastic Four, I would have totally understood if Marvel's like, look, we can't use him in two different Marvel movies, even though the Fantastic Four movie he was in was from 20th Century Fox, and pretty much everybody agrees that it was kind of a silly role in a silly movie. So I really, Tommy Lee Jones has the best line in the movie too, and he says, "I'm not going to kiss you." And if you don't mind seeing the King of the Elves in Lord of the Rings as a bad guy, so if you haven't seen The Matrix, where he's Smith,
he looks like a bad guy.
He really does, and he's fantastic in this movie.
Look.
He's fantastic in this movie. And it does, even in Lord of the Rings, it leaves you wondering, are the elves really on their side? All right, but that's a great movie, and if you haven't seen it, and if you're like, I don't know if I want to see Marvel movies, that's the one to watch, because it's really fantastic. That and Iron Man, I guess, would be the ones to watch. Number 18, and I'm not talking about the remake, I'm not talking about the mini-series, I am talking about Jack Nicholson, 1980, The Shining. I have on my Facebook profile, I have a photo album that is titled Moods. And it is my moods of the day set to various shots of Jack Nicholson in the movie The Shining. He goes through every emotion, good and bad. And when he's going through the good, he still looks really creepy. Stephen King's biggest criticism was that Jack Nicholson already looks insane, and the idea of Jack Torrance was that he's driven insane and he should look like a nice family man, and Jack Nicholson didn't suit it. I would counter with there's something wrong with Jack Torrance even at the start of the movie. As you find out with his relationship with Danny, it's difficult to say the least. His relationship with Wendy is difficult to say the least. So for me, The Shining is, yeah. I mean, there are elements of The Shining you look at and say, okay, maybe if you cast somebody a little more family friendly than Jack Nicholson, it would have been more shocking. But does it get any better than at the end when he's chasing them around with the axe? I mean, really. And I've been accused of looking a lot like Jack Nicholson does in that movie when I'm angry, which is fine. That's fine. It's not a big deal. And I certainly love almost every line from this movie. There are so many moments in this movie that are just absolutely classic. Number 17. And it seems weird writing this down after a Stanley Kubrick movie. Dodgeball. You can dodge a wrench. Or if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. The line is that line and every line that precedes and follows it in this movie is gold. Dodgeball is one of those few movies that is really close to absolutely perfect from start to finish. Almost every joke hits for me, and I know humor is subjective, and there are people who will have a sense of humor for movies that I don't find remotely funny at all. I'm sorry, Superbad wasn't funny. There, I said it. Dodgeball, though, is amazing. And I've always liked Vince Vaughn. Ben Stiller, I've liked in certain roles. Sometimes he's so over the top that, like I enjoy the movie Tropic Thunder, but I enjoyed Tropic Thunder not for him. I enjoyed it because Tom Cruise you don't even recognize in the movie, and you don't even realize it's Tom Cruise. At least I didn't realize it was Tom Cruise till over halfway through the movie, where he said a line and I went, "Wait a minute, is that Tom Cruise?" So that was an amazing moment watching that movie. And in Dodgeball, Ben Stiller is the evil version of himself. But White Goodman is so over the top and awesome. And, yeah, I can't get into how many great lines there are, but pretty much all of them are good. I'm going to go to the washroom for a drink in the bathroom. And then, person he's talking to says, whatever you do, wash your hands. Just there's so many, we have a pirate on our team, Steve the Pirate. It's just there's so many great lines in this movie from start. If you haven't seen it, you're really seriously missing out. 16. 16 is The Lost Boys. So this is another vampire movie that gets into the countdown. I'm pretty sure this is my highest charting vampire movie, and yes, it is. The two Coreys are in this, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. The Frog Brothers are fantastic. Kiefer Sutherland is amazing in this. Jason Patric is amazing in this. Diane Wiest. I can go on and on. There are so many. Again, this is another one of those cases where you look back, and this movie's 30 years old now, and you can watch this movie, and then put on any movie that was up for an Academy Award that year. And some of them are really, really good. But for the most part, you're going to be like, like I remember Out of Africa as being like one of the best movies ever or whatever they said at the Academy. And I'm like, movie's boring. I tried watching it with my mother and I fell asleep. And I was a teenager at the time. It took a lot to put me to sleep back then. Lost Boys is just awesome. Oh, I almost forgot Jamie Gertz. Oh, yes, Jamie Gertz. Can't forget Jamie Gertz. I think every boy in the 80s had a crush on Jamie Gertz. And Lost Boys is fantastic. It's not over the top gory and it's not scary. It's just fun. It's a fun zombie movie. And Grandpa knows more than Grandpa lets on. And there were some things with Grandpa too that I didn't realize the first few times I watched it, where I'm like, wait a minute, they're hinting that maybe the grandfather is a vampire as well. So that was fun. Watching it over again is a lot of fun. And it's a fantastic movie from start to finish. And 15 is going to be one that doesn't seem like it belongs in 15. And that's Schindler's List. Schindler's List is a movie that I've watched twice. It's moving. I think the first time I watched it, I think I cried 3 times while I was watching it. There's the heart wrenching scene at the end with Liam Neeson with the ring, and you guys who have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. If anybody hasn't seen it, I'm trying to avoid spoilers when I do this list because I know there's classic movies people haven't seen. Like I haven't seen the Godfather trilogy. There you go. As much as I love mafia movies for the most part, I've never seen the Godfather trilogy. So there could be people out there watching this who haven't seen Schindler's List, but Liam Neeson's just amazing in this movie. It's it's one of the most poignant stories ever told, and it tells a tale that really needs to be told. And then the ending. So after he goes through after the ring scene and everything, when they show the Jewish survivors of World War II whose lives were directly saved by Schindler, that is, if you're not moved by that scene, then I don't know. It's wonderful because it's the real people and their descendants, and it shows just how many lives were saved by him and how many people were touched by him, and at the beginning he's just doing it because he wants to save money. So it goes from I'm a businessman, I want to save some money. If I have Jewish people working in my factory, I don't have to pay them. This kind of thing, and it turns into something so much more than that. And it is fantastic. It's in black and white, except the girl in the red dress, which is another scene that really upset me the first time I watched it. There's so many things that just yeah, I can't praise it enough. And if you haven't seen it, I don't know what to tell you to make you go and watch it. At 14, 14 is The Princess Bride. Princess Bride is a movie I hadn't really heard anything about. I watched it at camp one summer, and I fell for the movie on the spot. That night, myself and my friends and basically all the guys on the guys' side of the camp, we were all in Ego Montoya, and we were all sword fighting using brooms, sticks, whatever we could find, and we were all reciting the lines, even though it made no sense that both of us were reciting the lines towards each other. It is um, a wonderful movie in that it was filmed towards the end of Andre the Giant's life, and it shows really what a wonderful, kind-hearted man Andre the Giant was. He was a 7'5" tall behemoth who weighed roughly 550 pounds, and no man could move him. It was always said about Andre as a wrestler, if he didn't want to fall down, you weren't knocking him down. If he didn't feel like losing, that was the biggest fear Hulk Hogan had going into WrestleMania 3 was, what if Andre decides, nope, I'm not losing tonight? Because there's no way Hogan, A, could have knocked him down, and B, could have beat him. There's just no way. It's all pre-scripted. Wrestling's pre-scripted. I know that as well as anybody else. But if Andre, a 7'5", 550-pound giant, decided, I don't think I'm going to lose tonight, there wasn't a whole lot that 6'7", 300-pound Hulk Hogan could have done about it. And in Princess Bride, it shows his good side. I think at Billy Crystal too. I think one of my favorite lines is, "I'm on the Brute Squad," and then Billy Crystal looking at him going, "You are the Brute Squad." And I've always wondered the wonderful banter back and forth between Billy Crystal and Carol Kane before he goes to storm the castle. I've always wondered how much of that was improv and how much of that was scripted, because Billy Crystal is very, very funny, and Carol Kane is very funny as well. So I always wondered the where they would go if it was, okay, here's your basic dialogue, now just have some fun with it, because that's how it seemed to me. There's certain lines Billy Crystal throws in there where I'm like, that can't have been in the script. That just can't have been. If it was a Mel Brooks movie, sure, but this one's not a Mel Brooks movie, and it just seems. Oh, and of course, iocane powder. That scene is just it's a beauty. I've given away nothing. You've given away everything. Just it's yeah. If you haven't seen it, why not? Just go. Just go watch it now. 13, and I don't like putting it this low, but I think I kind of got worn out on this one. I've seen it a lot. This is one of those ones that in my previous marriage I got to watch a lot, and that's the Shawshank Redemption. Shawshank Redemption is the #1 rated movie on IMDb of all time. It had been Godfather. Right now, it is Shawshank Redemption that's got the top rating. And I know I gave it a 10. I know I rated it on IMDb and I gave it a 10. Morgan Freeman, Tim Robbins in this movie, it is just wonderful, and each part of the movie, it adds up to this great story. And of course, the Raquel Welch poster, which if I could have that up here right now, I probably would, because it's one of the most fantastic posters ever. Raquel Welch in 10,000 BC, horrible movie, absolutely probably the best looking woman ever was before, after, or during at that point. Just insanely gorgeous, and that poster sticks in your brain as much as anything else in the movie. And it is so perfect in its execution, and it is it's one of those films that I really, I think if I hadn't been made tired of it over the years, I really think it probably would have charted higher than this, but I was kind of made to be tired of it. And for that reason, it sits at 13, which is pretty good for a movie that I'm tired of. 13 is pretty good. Number 12. Number 12, we're going back to sci-fi. Not Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi is the end of the original trilogy, and here's the thing for me. I'm old enough now that I look back on it and I can see flaws. I can see a lot of flaws. My biggest flaw with this movie is knowing now that the original plan was to have the final battle not at Endor, but have it at Kashyyyk, the home world of the Wookiees. And that it would have been the home world of the Wookiees where the final battle took place. The Ewoks and going with the cutesy little teddy bear kind of things, I know it worked for the kids. I know that's why it was done. But for me, it still drags the movie down a little bit. And it takes some of the more serious movie moments that are in it and makes it kind of silly. It's like this, if you had your doubts about stormtroopers from Star Wars and Empire, this movie didn't help. Because these are stormtroopers who are getting beat up by puppets. And it is really, really hard to kind of get over that. I mean, I get it, I guess, sheer numbers and whatnot, but they're throwing rocks and you've got a laser gun. Figure it out. They're 2 feet tall. So Return of the Jedi suffers for not for what's in it, but for what wasn't. The homeworld of the Wookiees would have been awesome. And then when we finally get to see the homeworld of the Wookiees, it's in Revenge of the Sith, and it's a downer. Because it's just sort of, oh, here's all the Wookiees, and it's like, well, no, that's not what we wanted. We didn't just want all the Wookiees in a lineup fighting with robots and then just Yoda looking sad. We wanted more than that. So we kind of got gypped twice. First for Kashyyyk not being in it, and then for Kashyyyk being there and not being represented correctly. Yeah, I'm a giant Star Wars nerd. I get it. 11. And I'll end this part of the countdown here. Idiocracy. Idiocracy is a movie that I didn't hear about when it came out because Fox didn't want us to hear about it. Fox tried to bury this movie. Legend has it that this movie was brought out. It was Mike Judge, who had written Beavis and Butthead and Office Space and was a very well thought of man at the time, made Idiocracy with the idea that society's getting dumber and that the people who are having a lot of kids are not the brilliant people. The brilliant people are deciding not to have children or to have one, or in some cases, dying while trying to conceive one, as in the case of the start of this movie. And I think there's 2 reasons Fox buried this movie. Okay, because this movie would have been a huge box office success if Fox hadn't buried it. One, it does expose that people are getting dumber, which just browse internet comment sections on any YouTube channel and they're right. Browse Facebook. Just look over any news-related website or sports or what Idiocracy talks about 15 years ago is happening now. So the movie has gone from satire to kind of prophetic. And it's fantastic. One of my alternate nicknames that I use once in a while on Facebook is Upgrade, spelled with 2 D's for a double dose of pimping. And it is a great name, just UPGRAYEDD, Upgrade. And when they go to sleep in present day, which was early this century, and then they wake up 500 years later, and mankind's just taken a nosedive. It makes sense. They make this world make sense. The only thing that I've always kind of wanted to see, and I know they've talked about doing a sequel, is, to me, with all of this machinery and all of this stuff they still have, there has to kind of be a Wizard of Oz type character that's maintaining this society, that's keeping people stupid, and that's maintaining all this machinery because they're way too dumb to fix anything. So if something breaks, they can't fix it. And the idea that society at all could even function with people being that dumb, it can't. So there has to be some kind of a sinister force that's keeping this going. And it would have to be a force that's even above the White House because while I love President Camacho, and President Camacho is the bomb, he can't be the smartest man in the country. He can't be even close. And even though at the end you see that, they're smarter than maybe we gave them credit for, still there has to be somebody who's maintaining all this machinery, maintaining their cars, because it doesn't make sense otherwise. And I always kind of thought, if they did an Idiocracy too, where they show some kind of a sinister force while keeping it lighthearted, and that's where the trick comes in, I think it could be really fantastic. And Terry Crews has always been down for a sequel. He will dress up as President Camacho for no reason at all because he just feels like it. And I always thought if he somehow actually ran as President Camacho's character, I think he'd get votes. I really, because I know if I was in the States, I'd be tempted to vote for President Camacho because that would kind of be hilarious. But there you go. There's my next 10. I've only got 10 left. And these are the movies that are really sort of fantastic in my eyes. So if you can take it easy on me in the comment section, I appreciate it. But if you don't want to, that's fine too. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.